Hey guys, welcome back to another video. What I thought I'd do today is do a little bit of a reflection on my 2025 goals because, you know, it's pretty much the end of the year. I'm filming this literally the day before I'm posting, maybe 2 days before I'm posting. Um, so I only have a few more days left this year, so I've pretty much, I think this will be a good time for me to reflect on my 2025 goals and maybe talk a little bit about my 2026 goals as well. And I'll talk more I'll talk more about that. I have a few different ideas about how I'm approaching all that. I'll talk about that later. Um, so yeah, so going so um, backtracking a little bit, beginning of this year, I did post a video kind of outlining some goals for 2025. So I thought so. That's basically what I'm reflecting on. So I have basically two categories I'll talk about, and that's books I've read and fitness goals, because those are the two categories that I've kind of focused on, or at least those are the categories that I've written some notes about. So I'm pretty sure that those are the only two categories um, that I talked about in that video. Admittedly, I had watched the video. The last time I watched that video was like a month or two ago, to be honest. So anyway, that doesn't matter. Anyways, I'll start with the books. I'll start with books. Um, yes, the books I read. My sort of reading list for this year was to finish. So I had a few books that I started reading that I wanted to make sure I finished. So and I usually have like a self-help book and a nonfiction book, or not self-help, but a fiction and a nonfiction book. I just realized I said self-help and nonfiction, but it should have been self-help and fiction. Whatever. My brain. Anyway, I usually have some sort of fiction book and nonfiction book, because depending on my mood, I kind of bounce between the two. So it's not unheard of for me to have two books I'm reading at the same time, just because I go through phases where I'm more into the maybe self improvement, nonfiction type of genre, and then I go through other phases where it's more like fiction, kind of fractured fairy tale type of genre. But anyway, so like I said, I had two books. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think I had two books that I had started, but I hadn't finished yet. Um, yeah, because I don't think I think both of these two. Well, actually, I had three books. Well, two of them were physical books. One of them's an ebook. Um, like I said, I think all three of them I had started before the year started, and I wanted to make sure I finished them this year. Those were my goals. I did finish two of those books. One of the books I did not finish, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. So, the first book on my list was How to ADHD by Jessica McCabe. And I had started that book, and then, like I said, I go through phases I bounce between fiction and nonfiction genres. So that I kind of, or not genres, fiction and nonfiction books. So anyway, I did finish that. I finished that about in like October, November, something like that. I don't remember exactly when, but it was definitely within the last couple months here. I also finished As Old as Time. I finished that probably in the summer, I want to say. Um, I think that was by Liz Braswell. I'm not sure though. It's part of the Twisted, these are called like Twisted Tales or something series. Um, and then I also um, had I had started It Gets Worse by Shane Dawson. that's just an ongoing. That's the ebook I was talking about. That's just ongoing. Um, I usually just read that when I don't have a physical book around and I want to read. So I'll pull that out. I'll pull that up on my phone and just start reading that. So eventually I'll finish it, but um, it's still on my list to finish, and eventually I'll finish it. But that one I'm not. I just don't prefer the ebook format, um, so that's why I don't gravitate toward that as much. So, but it's still there for those occasions when it's needed, I guess you can say. Um, let's see. So those are all books that I have. So those are those three books. And then so I also had Atomic Habits on my list to read this year. I did start it. Um, I got. Let me see here. I have it right here. Let's see how far in I have gone. I'm actually further in than I thought I was. So yeah, Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's how much I've read so far. So I've gotten through the first couple sort of chapters of that. Um, and then I decided to move on to nonfiction. Or actually, I kind of got, I kind of stopped reading for a little bit, and now I'm back into my fiction phase again. Speaking of fiction, this was I did add another book this year, um, and that's Elfie by Gregory Maguire. It's basically kind of like so Gregory Maguire. He wrote the Wicked. Well, Wicked. It's Wicked's the thing right now. Um, so Gregory Maguire wrote the book version of Wicked, and Wicked is actually the first book of a whole series he wrote called The Wicked Years. Um, and Elfie is kind of in that. So there's four books in the series, and then Elfie was kind of like an addition, kind of. It's not really part of the story, but it kind of adds a little bit, a little uh, extra. There's a word I'm missing here, but anyway, it's not part of the whole. It's not actually part of the series, but it's kind of like is part of the series, but it's not part of the series. Um, it's part of the series, but it doesn't contribute to the overarching main storyline. It's more of a side quest, if you will. And that's just and Elfie is just focusing a little bit more on the Wicked Witch of the West childhood, just some of her experiences growing up. Um, so that would be cool. Um, so those are my goals from 2025 about books. That's where I am with my 2025 goals for books. I'm going to loop back and talk a little bit about my 2026 book goals after I go through my 2025 goals. So those were my books. Fitness goals for 2025. Um, let's see. One of my goals was to complete the 75 soft challenge. I did kind of do that, so I did it, but it wasn't perfect. So, but I did it. So, yeah, I kind of did it, but it wasn't perfect. So it could have gone better, but I did do it. I did it in my own way, I guess, but it wasn't a perfect version attempt at it, but it was um, an attempt. So I did do it, but I kind of did it, but it wasn't perfect. That's my final verdict on 75 soft. I did a whole video on that. I don't think I don't think it was a series. I think I just did like a hey, I did the 75 soft challenge. Here's how it went type of video. Um, I also did 30 day infinity hoop challenge. So I did complete that this year, and I have a video on that. Um, my big my big sort of running fitness goal this year was I was planning on doing a I was planning on running the Revel Big Bear marathon in November of this year. Um, so I have a whole series of training videos on that. But basically that, but because of mudslides and stuff up at the mountain area where it was taking place, the race organizers downgraded it to only being a half marathon. Before it was you had the half marathon or full marathon option. I had signed up for the full marathon, but then they canceled the full marathon and said, hey, you can either we'll give you you know you can downgrade to a half marathon, or you can run. They gave us a few options. Uh, I ended up just downgrading to a half marathon of that race because scheduling and everything, that was the best option. Um, and it was one of those things, everything happened for a reason, because my training did not go well for during that whole training block. Really, it wasn't my best training block. I, yeah, I don't even, it was not my best. There were definitely some good, solid weeks in there. And then there were some other weeks that was like, I did not do well at all with sticking to my training plan. So it was good that I downgraded to a half marathon because I honestly don't think I would have been able to finish the full marathon, based on how my training was and everything, and based how that race actually ended up going. The interesting thing about all that is, although my training didn't go well, I did end up PRing on that half marathon race by a little bit. So that was cool. It was a pleasant surprise. I did take off really. I actually started off really fast for me, um, by my standards, really fast at the beginning of the race, and that um, allowed me to bank enough time to where at the end of the race, I could take it easy. Um, Not ideal, but it wasn't bad. Um, I also, one of my other goals was to do the Holiday Running Festival and to complete the Triple Snowflake Challenge. That was part of that Holiday Running Festival. Um, so this didn't happen. Um, so the Holiday Running Festival, I had every intention of doing that, even after my marathon didn't go so hot. I was still intending on doing it. However, um, the Triple Snowflake Challenge actually no longer exists for the Holiday Running Festival. Um, so I couldn't do it. It's literally impossible. It doesn't exist anymore. So basically they moved locations. Um, the location used to be to a lot closer to me, and actually really close to my where my parents live. So my plan was just go down, spend a weekend basically at my parents and do the festival, because literally it was like 15-20 minutes from my parents' house. Um, but they moved the locations. They moved the location of it this year. They changed a lot of stuff. They moved the location um, further out. They made it more like a beach location, which no, I couldn't do it, because they moved locations, and then they changed the schedules. The schedule, because it used to be Saturday and Sunday was when the races were. Um, one day was like the 5K and 10K race, and then the other next day was, I think Saturday was 5K and 10K races, and then Sunday was the half marathon, if I remember correctly. Um, but um, they changed it to a Friday Saturday race, um, and they didn't even offer a 10K this year. They only offered a 5K on Friday, and I think it was a night race. So there was no way I was going to make it after work to that. And then they did a half marathon on Saturday. Um, so like I said, they changed the race completely, basically, in my opinion. Um, they changed location. I need some water. They changed location. They changed location. They changed the days that they would normally do it. They took out one of the races. So it just didn't work out. So I didn't do any. So I just ditched that idea basically. Because I'm like, you know what? That's fine. It's one of those. I believe everything happens for a reason, and I think that was the universe's way of saying, you know what? You don't need to do another race in December when life's already busy anyway. So those are my two. So yeah, that was my fitness goals um, for 2025. Those were my two goals. Um, Another kind of accomplishment I made um, this year that I didn't really talk about in my initial video. I did all, but it happened this year. I actually got my master's degree this year too. So that's part of the reason why like my marathon training didn't go as well as I was hoping, because I was going to school like full time, working full time. Maybe school is part time. I don't know what school was. It was an intense program. It was, I think it was be considered full time maybe. I mean, it was a good amount. It was a good chunk. It it was a lot. And that started January and it ended um, October, end of like mid October. So it was about a 10-month program. Um, but I'm done. I have my degree. I gotten it. We're good. So that's another sort of accomplishment this year that I've done. Um, so that is my 2025 sort of goals reflection. Now that we've talked about our 2025 goals and kind of reflected on them, I want to talk about my 2026 goals. Um, so what I would like to do, and I don't know, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure that this is going to materialize, but what I would like to do is kind of do like a monthly check-in for my goals for 2026. So I'm gonna try and do that. Um, if not, then we'll check in at the end of the year like I did this year. So we'll see kind of if anything materializes. I'm still kind of working out on details to make sure I actually have content for those monthly reflections. But anyway, so for 2026, I actually broke it into three different categories this time. Um, like I mentioned, last year was just basically books and fitness. I've basically broke this year, moving into 2026. My three categories are going to be books, challenges, and fitness. Which challenges and fitness kind of go hand in hand, but we'll talk a little bit more about uh, everything here as we go. So I'll start with my books. Going into 2026, I am starting um, a new series. Actually, it's the Fairy Tales Reimagined series. Um, I got the whole series for Christmas, so gonna. So my goal is to read through all of those books. I believe there's 7 books total, if I recall correctly. I'd have to double check. But I'm uh, Sorry, I just was looking at the description here for a minute. But yeah, I started reading it already, so um, who knows? I might even finish this over the next couple of days. I probably won't because I know me, but still, you never know. I might get hyper fixated on it. But anyway, this is book one. But anyway, I want to get through this one. Like I said, I believe there's 7 books, if I'm not mistaken, of this series. I'm into the fractured fairy tale type of genre, so this will be it's a little different, but it's along the same lines. And then of course I also want to make sure I finish Atomic Habits this year, so that's my other sort of reading. That's my other book on my reading list. And of course I still have the It Gets Worse by Shane Dawson that's still hanging around, so I'll be maybe reading that too. Um, so so that's my reading goals. Basically, get through this series and Atomic Habits. Those are my goals. And then, of course, whatever piques my interest this year, I can read it. Um, I'm hoping I'll have more time to commit to reading now that I don't have my master's program I have to worry about. Um, let's see. Oh, um, I was talking about the Wicked Years series and stuff. I heard that um, I saw somewhere. It was like one. It was like I saw it one time, so I don't even know if it's true. But if it is, it would be pretty cool. I heard there's like a Glenda backstory in the works. Um, so that will be on my list if it does come out. I heard it's supposed to come out in 2026 sometime. But like I said, I only saw like one thing about it, so I don't even know if it's true or not. Um, so that's my books. Um, let's talk about challenges first. I only have 3 of them um, written. I have 3 of them right now. I feel like I have another. I feel like I have another challenge actually that I just didn't write down yet. But these are the 3 I have. Um, so in January, I'm going to be running 5K for a month. That's my challenge. So I'll do a video on that when I'm done with that. And then in February, I'm gonna be starting what I'm calling a 75 balance challenge. So it's kind of it's kind of something between the 75 soft, 75 hard, 75 medium. I kind of use ChatGPT to help me create my own challenge. So I'll be making a video explaining all the parameters around that, but that's going to be happening um, basically from February through mid-April. And then after that, I'll be doing 12-3-30 for a week. Those are my challenges I've written down. I am working on some sort of summer shape up series challenge, but I'm not 100% sure about it. It's not set in stone. I was kind of throwing out some ideas and kind of working on it, but I'm just not sure. I have to figure out what my summer's looking like and stuff and figure out what's going to be realistic for my plans and stuff. Um, but yeah, so I definitely have so as of right now, I just have the 3 challenges on my radar, and they're all fitness challenges. So I guess it kind of goes into fitness goals too. But for me, my big fitness goal this year is just to maintain a fitness routine. Um, Over the last month, I've gotten really on track with um, fitness stuff. I've gotten into a good habit of doing strength training twice a week, and then doing at least 30 minutes of cardio the rest of the week. So I'm on a streak right now. I've been doing it every day for the entire month. So I want to maintain that streak. But I also want to make sure I'm hitting strength training at least 2 days a week. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll make it 3 days a week. That's my goal. So I'm hoping that as I progress, like through these challenges and stuff, that I'll be able to um, do 3 days a week instead of just, I'll be able to commit to 3 days a week as opposed to just two. Um, but right now, I feel like I'm getting into a good groove with 2 days a week, and I'm pretty happy with how things are going with that. But I do plan on upping it to 3 days a week, at least through certain moment, at least throughout certain periods throughout the year. Like when I'm doing my 75 balance challenge, I'll probably bump it up to three. I plan on bumping it up to 3 days a week, and then we'll see kind of how everything goes. But anyway, that's my big fitness goal, is just to maintain that consistency, because that's something I struggle with. So if I can commit, if I can just keep this streak up that I have, um, and maintain strength training at least 2 to 3 days a week, I'll be happy. But anyway, those are my goals for. So anyway, yeah, that's my reflection for 2025. Goals moving into 2026. And like I said, I'm gonna try and do like monthly updates, but we'll see. Um, we'll see if that materializes. So, in the meantime, um, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you next time.